My name is Brad Pomerance. I'm so glad you're joining us today. You may know me from Jewish Life Television, host of Air, Land, and Sea, and the genealogy-themed television series Generations, which is part of the way I met this kind woman I will introduce you to in a moment. Because would you guess that a nice Catholic girl born and raised in mid-century Buffalo, New York, only learned as an adult that she had Jewish roots? And when I say Jewish roots, I mean she really had Jewish roots. I'm talking like 8 generations, 300 years of Jewish roots. And those roots take us through Hungary, the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And she wrote a book which I loved. I loved this book. I'm a nerd. I admit it. It's called the Pulitzer Saga, and I am joined by its author, Linda Ambrose Broenniman. I'm so glad you're here, Linda. Hold up the book. Hold up the book.
Great.
Show
Thank
us what
you.
it is.
Here you go.
Okay. So let me ask you, as we talk about your journey as an author, until your mid-20s, what did you know about your family's heritage, ancestry, history, faith?
Well, faith. I thought you were Catholic.
You did.
Church every Sunday.
Okay.
And that includes the whole family. I'm one of 7. So all my
Nice Catholic girl, one of 7. You'd expect a big family.
My parents and my grandmothers who live with us. So they all went to Catholic church every Sunday.
Okay. Well, let's talk about a fateful day when you were 27 and your sister took a trip. Was it to Canada?
Montreal, yes.
What happened?
So my older sister's a doctor, and she had a medical meeting in Montreal, and she stayed with her godmother. Her godmother comes from a family, or was married into a family that went back generations with my family. Like my great grandmother was best friends with her grandmother. So
in Hungary.
So
you knew, by the way, growing up, that you were Hungarian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, my parents and my grandmother spoke Hungarian at home, and until I was 3, I was fluent in Hungarian.
Okay, so you knew, and you knew that they moved to America after World War II. You didn't know much about what had happened during World War II, but you're Hungarian, and with the fiery Hungarian tempers. I'm a little Hungarian, so I know all about those fiery tempers.
Great Hungarian food.
I was going to say. So that's all you knew. Okay.
Yeah.
So your sister goes to Montreal.
My sister goes to Montreal. Oh, and by the way, just before that, in 1984, I had gone to Hungary with my parents. So it was before the war, and it was just like a quick trip because it was still communist ruled.
I was going to say, yeah.
They were still, my parents were very, very nervous about the trip because they were being watched. There's no question. But
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
you didn't know exactly why they were nervous. You thought it's because they were being watched, but there was more to the story.
Right. Exactly.
Continue.
So then my sister is in Montreal, and she's staying with her godmother, and she asked her godmother what she thought was an innocent question. Like, what was my great-grandmother Margit like? Because they would talk. I mean, my grandmother was so attached to Margit, and they would talk about how wonderful Margit was. So she just wanted to learn more. And the answer came back, like most Jewish mothers, she ruled the roost. She was very kind and generous, but she ruled the roost. So I think when my sister heard Jewish, she was like, I think in a bit of a shock. And her godmother said, oops, I thought you knew.
Oh, yes. So what's your sister's name?
Madeline.
So did Madeline then call you up and say, this is what I learned? Or, I mean, what did
No,
you know? All you knew is that you had a great grandmother that was Jewish. Did you know more than that at that point?
no. What happened? Madeline didn't even tell me right away, and I think she came
Okay.
back. I think she was still in shock, and she told my
Right.
brother. And then I was not living in Buffalo, but I came home for a holiday, and my brother comes into my room and says, "Oh, I've got a secret I have to tell you."
Right.
And he says, "Dad's Jewish."
Wait, but did you, how much, because look, one can have a great grandparent that's Jewish. That doesn't mean you're Jewish.
Right.
I mean, I guess if it's, on the mother's side, but let's not even go there. But so did you know the extent to which he was Jewish at that point?
No, we knew my father's family was Jewish. I think
Because
we got that much from her godmother.
because
But
let's be very clear, your father was 100% Jewish. He didn't happen to have a
yeah,
1/8 Jewish
no, no,
great
no, no.
grandparent. His
Hundred,
parents were Jewish,
hundred
grandparents,
percent.
great grandparents. This guy was a Yidlach from the word go.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you ask your parents? I mean, did you say what's going on here?
I immediately went to my mother and said, "Is this true?" And she said yes. But there was this web of secrecy. So even though she knew that we knew, that was as far as it was going to go. There was like
Now,
no conversation. It was
what
shut down.
was there any conversation at that point about what was going on with your mother and father during World War II?
No.
Because not only is your father's story remarkable, your mother's is just as compelling.
So I will tell you what happened is then shortly after the Berlin Wall came down in 1990, I went back to Budapest with my parents. And my father was doing some consulting, so he was busy the whole time. So I
He's a
was,
doctor,
yeah, he's a doctor. There was a pharmaceutical
very
company.
successful.
Yeah, the pharmaceutical company wanted to open up in Budapest and asked him to consult with them. So he was in meetings the whole time. So I got to spend some real quality time with my mother. And she took me back to all the places she wanted me to see and so on. And so I got to ask her a lot of questions. But the issue was I didn't have enough history
Oh,
to
right.
ask the right questions.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
get it. Yeah.
at one point, she said to me, and I'll never forget the day because it was a beautiful sunny day. We were on Margaret Island. If you've been to Budapest, Margaret Island is gorgeous. It's
Right.
in the middle of the Danube. We're walking around beautiful parks and so on. And actually, we were talking about Margit. And then my mother just sort of out of the blue said to me, well, during the war, I hid some people. And the
Okay.
problem
Let's just
was,
yeah. I don't mean to cut you off, but
yeah,
say that again. During the war, your
during the war,
mother what?
hid some people. That's
Okay.
all she said. And she
Yeah.
said it as if it was just like something of no consequence. It's like, hey, today I took out the garbage.
Yeah. Let's
During
paint
the
a
war, I
picture.
hid some people.
In 1944, in Hungary, by May, the Nazis were on a full-throated, throttled assault against Hungarian Jewry, and they managed to deport 400 to 500,000 Jews to Auschwitz and exterminate 90% of them.
Yep.
And your mother just kind of drops in, I hid some Jews.
Right.
How many Jews did she hide, Linda?
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
No, but
And
it's a decent number of what we do know.
yes.
About how many?
Well, so I would say people that stayed there throughout, probably about 20. But what happened, and we didn't find this out until much later, until really from the
We'll get
Israeli
there.
government when she
We'll
was,
get there.
yeah,
Don't say it yet. We'll get
okay, I
there.
won't say it. But apparently she and another medical student, she's a medical student at the time herself, and she and another medical student, when they ran out of space, they would hide people in the histology lab at the medical school. And what I also
Linda, Linda,
yeah,
Linda, your mother, a Catholic woman from Hungary, saved 20 people,
probably many
including
more.
your father,
Yes.
including his mother.
My grandmother.
Yeah, and in 2006, some country did something to honor her.
Yeah. Yeah, the
I could start
Israeli.
crying, honestly. As I'm saying this, I know it's your life and you've lived it, but this is very moving. What happened in
Well, you
2006?
know something. What's interesting that you say that because we didn't really understand the extent of what
Right.
that meant, and we didn't really learn that until much later. But so in 2006, and I will tell you, it was August, and I get this invitation from the Israeli consulate in New York that they're going to honor my mother as righteous among the nations.
Did you know
I
what that meant?
I had no idea. No idea what that meant. I'm a
Why would
Catholic
you?
girl,
Why
remember?
would you? Why
And
would
the only
you?
thing that I was thinking of was, oh my God, is this a right wing thing? Because my mother hates the right
Righteous,
wing.
righteous, right. Oh,
My
it's too
mother,
good to
my
be
mother,
true.
way back when, my mother would talk about how bad the right wing was.
It's too
So
good to be true.
I called my friend Yona, and Yona, Yona was always a voice in my ear. We were
Uh,
very close, and
I presume Yoda is Jewish.
yeah, her
Yeah, yeah,
parents were
yeah.
Holocaust
Yep.
survivors, so I call up Yona. I said, "What does this mean?" And she says to me, "This is the highest honor that the Israeli government gives to non-Jews who saved Jews during the Holocaust." So it was a really, really big deal. But still, we didn't know. And in the ceremony, in the ceremony, and unfortunately, my mom at that point had Alzheimer's. So my father gave her speech, and my father again pretended that he was not Jewish. I mean, he gave her,
But who do you know who submitted her?
yes, her best friend Ava
Hmm.
Klein.
Who
So
was saved by her?
yes. So, and this is a really interesting story because Ava, they were young girls. Ava and my mom were best friends from grade school. They were inseparable. And Ava, Ava was Jewish. Her family was Jewish. Her boyfriend was, had just finished rabbinical school.
Mm.
He eventually became the chief rabbi of Vienna. So, any rate, so Ava came to my mom and said, one of her boyfriend's friends had a factory and he had to close it because of the anti-Jewish laws. So here was this non-working factory, and it was a whole complex that had a factory building and a
Right. And
home.
that's where your mother hit
And
everyone.
they asked her to move in and be
Right.
the face. And so, she hid Ava and her family and Rabbi Eisenberg and excuse me, his
Yeah.
family, and the factory owners, he and his family, and numerous others. We're not sure.
So in 2011, your family faced a tragedy, but that tragedy really put you on a path you could have never experienced. What happened in 2011?
Yeah, unfortunately, my parents' house caught fire, and it didn't burn down, but it burned. A lot of the inside was destroyed, and unfortunately, my mother died as a result of
Mm,
her the fire. But
sure.
she actually lived for 10 days after that. But it was horrible.
Right.
But as a result of that, my sister, who lives in Buffalo, she was trying to get out everything she could get out so there wasn't that much water damage because the
Right.
fire
Of
engines were
course.
there and so on.
Of course.
So in the chaos of trying to take things out, she took out a box but didn't even realize it. So the box eventually got put in a closet in her home and nothing happened. So it wasn't until like 2016 that I decided it was time for me to really learn about my family's history. And again,
Why?
Most of
Why?
all, I wanted, there's several reasons. One, I really wanted to learn more about Margie because she was just
Margie's the great grandmother.
the great grandmother. She was just held
Uh-huh.
up as this wonderful, wonderful person.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to learn about her. But there was more to it, I think. I think part of it was when you grow up with secrets, and it was, this is totally subconscious. I didn't really, I mean, I had a great childhood. It's not as
Right.
if,
Sure,
I
sure,
was,
sure.
but you still know when there's secrets. And I think when
Right.
you know when there's secrets, you think there's something wrong with you.
Mm.
So there was just, I think I built this sort of shell around me. But then also, all of my friends, most of my friends had cousins and grandparents, and, they went to visit this cousin and this
Right,
I
right.
didn't have any of that. And I wanted to know, what,
Why?
why,
Yeah.
what was my grandfather like? We had a portrait of him that was in our living room. And I would ask my grandmother once in a while, when I would ask my
This
grandmother,
is your father's
my
mother?
father's father,
Yeah.
and I would ask, how did he, I think I only did it once. How did he die? And her comment came back and said, "Oh, he was a leader in the community, and he was imprisoned for political reasons and died."
Is
And
that
that's what she
true?
would say. No, not at
What
all.
really happened?
Not at
What really
all.
happened?
But so what really happened is, you talked about 44. In the Germans came in March of 1944. In April of 1944, he got a letter saying he was to report to a prison. And this Nazi prison had been a rabbinical school. They took over all the
Of
buildings.
course.
It was a horrible place. From there, they sent him to Chapel Island, which they called there's books written about the labor camp at Chapel Island. It was
Hmm.
like Devil's Island. It was horrific, horribly violent, it just beyond. I'm going to start
You
crying
can't.
if
Yeah.
I go.
Yeah.
I can't. The
Yeah.
stories that you hear out of there are just horrific. And from there, he was taken to Auschwitz. From Auschwitz, we don't know why, but he was transferred to Dachau, and he died in April of 1945.
Oh, so close.
And we don't know how he died, because when the Germans knew that that they had lost, the
Yeah.
Russians
Right.
were coming in, the Americans were
Right. Of
coming in.
course.
So the Americans actually got to Dachau. But before that, they took 7,000 prisoners on a forced labor
Yeah.
march.
Yeah. Death
So
march.
we thought he went on the forced labor march and might have died there, but it's unclear because there's some paperwork that says he was actually released to the Americans. But then he died. He died of typhus in April.
Not
So
uncommon. Yeah.
no,
Not
I mean,
uncommon. Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
I
But let
mean,
me say this. Let me say this, Linda. It is so clear that you have become quite the genealogy nerd, as am I, because
yeah,
you are deep into the documents. And
yes,
once you, in 2016, uncovered the box that had been recovered in 2011 from the house fire, you went on a journey. And
yes,
you went on this journey to really uncover the story of your father's family, a journey that took you to this, I mean, even the 1600s,
yeah,
8 generations, and led to a book that took, I don't know, 7, 8 years to write.
yeah.
Tell me a bit about that journey and how you managed to uncover 8 generations of a storied Jewish family from Hungary, the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was an incredible journey. So going back to the box, when I when my sister sent me the box, and when I opened it, I found like documents and letters and photographs and pictures that were from the 1800s. I mean,
Mm.
you think about what these things survived. They survived World War I, World War
It's
II,
miraculous.
Hungarian
Yeah.
Revolution, and so
Right.
on. But everything was in Hungarian, and I didn't speak Hungarian anymore, even though I had known it. I don't
Right.
speak it, I can't read it. So I needed to look for somebody, and just by luck, I found a friend of a friend who lived here. When I took some of the documents to her, she said, "These are amazing documents. You really need to have them researched properly." So she introduced me to Andras Gazitsky, and he was a
Who is he?
Hungarian, remarkable person, a lawyer, a sociologist. He had been, high up in the Hungarian government at years ago before Orban. And he he just loved this kind of thing, and so he agreed to sort of go on this journey with me. And he was an incredible sleuth. The kinds of things he found, for example, even before we started working together, he looked up my great grandfather Ignaz Misner and said, I found 300 articles either about Ignaz Misner or ones that Ignaz Misner had actually written.
Let me be clear. I come from the Polish shtetl. I come from peasants. You, on the other hand, not so much. You
But
come
you
from
know something?
Hungarian Jewish royalty.
But it's not actually. It's yes and no.
Oh, come on. I read your book. You come from Hungarian Jewish royalty. The Pulitzer Saga. You're related to Pulitzer. I mean, come on.
But they didn't start out that way,
I know. I jest. But the reason I say that is the book describes in such exquisite detail the lives of Hungarian Jews over the last few centuries, and you don't see that often. I mean, the Holocaust really put let's say, a damper in telling Jewish stories, and
Yeah.
you managed to capture the essence
Oh,
of Jewry in the 18 and 1900s. I mean, I joke about me being from Polish Jewish peasants, but the reality is, in Budapest, in Vienna, I mean, Jews of means were the toast of the town, and they were well integrated, well assimilated. There were problems, of course, but your family really typified that kind of modern, successful Central and Eastern European Jews that, could you imagine if the Holocaust didn't happen?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right.
Now, let me ask you, look, I'm a genealogy nerd, but I haven't written a book. Okay. Why did you write this book? I thank you, but why?
But I didn't set out to write the book. I set out to really learn about my family. And what happened was Andras would uncover things, and he would, and he worked fast and furious because he was also facing colon cancer.
I know, yes, and we lost him.
Yeah, and we lost him way too early. But so he would uncover something, and as I said before, my history was not good enough. So I needed to delve into the history to understand their lives at the time. What were they facing? Why did they do this? So there were two books that we found that were written by relatives, and those really gave us a lot of the stories. But Andras was not satisfied with that. He would have to check everything and make sure.
But still, though,
true.
but God bless him. But why did you decide in the end to write a book?
Yeah, so I need to organize. I needed to organize everything. I needed to take the stories, understand the history, and really sort of, it was my way of connecting with them. I wanted to really truly connect with them. So
And
far beyond just
right. And we feel that connection. And that brings me to this. There's no question that your family, over the centuries, while integrated into Hungarian, Austro-Hungarian society, were proud of their Jewish faith, their Jewish religion, their Jewish roots. What happened with your father and grandmother and I don't, this is not meant to cast aspersions. I just really want you to
No.
like, why do you think that
Yeah.
they chose to hide this from you? I mean, not only did your father hide it, but his mother hid it from you.
Yes. And I think that when I think back, I think that's the biggest tragedy because my grandmother loved to tell stories. So I
Oh,
think my father told her she couldn't tell those stories. So
why? I mean, you're in Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo has had a wonderful Jewish community. I
yes.
mean, some of the earliest Eastern European Jewish immigrants went to Buffalo. It's not as if you were in a community where being Jewish was necessarily an issue. So what do you think it was? I mean, were they so traumatized by their experience in Budapest, Hungary in the 1940s?
I think that was part of it. When I look back at the people he lost, the family, even though it was a huge family,
Right, it was.
it was a huge family, and they were close. So you could tell they did things together. But the last page of my book, actually, I list all the people
Yeah.
that had died in the Holocaust. There's over 30 close family members, and there were another 60. Those were the only ones I could prove. There was probably another 60 that lived during that time, that died during that time, but I couldn't actually prove it.
So
So
what do you think? Why did your father, why did his mother, why did your mother decide
I
we're not
think
telling anyone?
I think it partially was the trauma, losing all those people. And I will give you one example.
Mm,
After the war, they were trying to find where everybody
of
was.
course. Hmm.
They found that my father's great uncle, Margit's brother,
Mm,
had been taken to a labor camp and was shot and in a mass grave. They sent my father to go identify the body and bring the body back. And that's just one example
yeah.
of these 30 people.
It's just so interesting because, many Holocaust survivors who moved to America um, would not talk about it. They wouldn't necessarily hide their Jewishness, although there were plenty, I promise you, you know that. But I'm just so fascinated by your father, a doctor, your mother, a doctor. I mean, these are extremely well educated individuals who presumably are, cultured and would see a thriving Jewish community in Buffalo. And
Yeah.
it's just, and your mother, what, I mean, like if I was your mother, I'd want to scream from the rooftops. I'm a righteous among I mean, like she's a hero.
Yeah.
This woman is a hero. And like, let's celebrate. Why didn't we get to celebrate that, in the 50s and the 60s? We had
Yeah.
to wait till 2006 to celebrate that.
Well,
I
and
mean,
I think there's a couple things. I think one, when they came, and they came in 1949, the America was still very anti-Semitic.
it
Very.
was, but still, it's Buffalo, it's New York. Again, I'm not no aspersions, zero
Right.
aspersions. Only pride and honor and respect. It's easy for me.
Right.
I don't walk in their shoes. If I may, and this question might be sensitive, but if I may, what is your relationship with Jewishness, Judaism? I mean, because I'm a born Jewish American. Like my relationship, it's an ethnicity, it's a culture, it's a faith. I mean, what's your relationship?
Well, it's interesting because I grew up Catholic. I didn't really know
Mm,
anything, and we didn't learn anything about the Jewish faith at all.
mhm.
Um, but, digging into this story, I cannot tell you how proud I am
Mm.
of my ancestors. I mean, and just go back to Ignaz Misner, for example, he got an exception so he didn't have to be subject to all of the Jewish strict regulations.
This is during
And
the
this is
1940s.
during the Holocaust,
Hmm.
1944. By the way, he died in 1945 of
Mm.
starvation. But 1944.
Yeah.
But when he kept the yellow star on during that whole time, because he said, "I wear the Jewish star with pride."
Mm.
So, think
So, are
about
you
what that
proud?
meant.
Yeah.
I
Are
am
you?
so
Yeah.
proud.
Mm.
I'm so proud. But for me, I'm not, organized religion has never really spoken to me. I'm
Yeah, it
not,
doesn't matter. Jewish, Catholic, doesn't matter. You're not the only one. I mean, that's a common story. So you have to worry about that on
yeah.
Would You Guess. I
So
mean, and the
I
thing is,
just,
and I'm sure you've learned, Jewishness is such a unique, not better, unique faith because it is an ethnicity. I mean, I can't tell you the number of atheist Jews that I know, and they will say they are Jewish. I mean,
uh-huh.
like, till their dying days, but they don't believe in God. What other religion? I can't think there are many Catholics that say they're atheists. And again, no aspersions, no judgment. It's just, it's a
Right.
very unique,
Yeah.
it's a unique experience in the 21st century.
But I think
Please.
there's values that the Jewish religion holds that
Fair enough.
I think we are that are so important. And I think the biggest value is be of service to others, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Make the world a better place.
Tikkun
And we
olam, right? Yeah, yeah.
that's something that we,
Yeah.
that was sort of hounded into us from an early age. You
So,
need to,
yeah, let me ask you this. I understand that there's more that was not in the book. So part A is another book coming out, and part B is when do I see the movie?
I love that.
Those are my two questions. Take them as in whatever order you choose.
As far as the second book, when I wrote this book, it was a much bigger book, and I worked with an editor, and she said,
Yeah,
"You
yeah,
really
yeah.
need to turn it into two books." So, at some point, I need to get back to that.
Okay, well, get
second book.
cracking,
I
get
haven't
cracking.
done it yet, but I will. I
And what
know
about
it's
the
there.
movie?
I would love it for it to be a movie. I
I don't
actually
even know where I'd go with it. It's like it could be about your mother, it could be about your father, it could be about
that
Ignace, it could be
I think it
about
should be a series. It should be a
we-
TV series, right?
Well, we'll
You
have to
know, you
talk.
take
We'll have to
each chapter.
talk. Linda, please hold up the book again because I
Yeah.
want our listeners, our viewers, to really, consider buying this because I have no horse in this game or race or whatever the cliche is, but it really is a wonderful read, a very
Thank you.
accessible read. And it's a read, whether you're Jewish, Catholic, it doesn't matter. It is very accessible and it takes you on a just epic journey of the Pulitzer family from the late 1600s. Is that right? All
1700s, yeah, early
17,
17,
yeah,
early 1700s, yeah,
yeah, all the way to the modern era.
yeah.
Linda, I honor you. I
Oh,
thank
thank you.
you. And would you guess, our guest has been Linda Ambrose Broenniman. Her book is The Pulitzer Saga. I'm Brad Pomerance. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brad.